How's it going out there, everybody? How's it going out there, world? We're SportSpeak Radio, and I'm here myself, H.R. Cole, along with head writer Todd Boldazar.
What's up, everybody?
We're here in studio today. We have a special guest from Lasorda's Lair, Mr. Scott. Scott, tell everybody your last name out there.
Andes.
Scott Andes.
Just like the mountains.
There you go. And, of course, we have a new face, a new voice to our broadcast team, Miss Liz. How you doing?
Hello, everybody.
So today we're here in studio. Todd, what are we gonna be talking about today?
We were talking Dodgers today.
Dodgers.
You couldn't tell by the Giants suck shirt that Scott is wearing.
I wear it proudly.
With the matching hat and headphones. we're talking Dodgers.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that we got him the closest Dodger blue headphones we can get to make sure his outfit matches correctly, right?
Absolutely, and nothing can top the Giants suck. I really like that. Especially with the hot dog stains. It's very well seasoned.
It's fresh from opening day, Todd.
Perfect.
Nice. Actually, so you were at opening day this year, right?
Yeah, yes, it was.
How was opening day? How was the new stadium look? How was the whole feel of the new look Dodgers going on?
Opening day was really fun. Opening day is normally like a big old party anyways, so,
right.
Me and Stacy Wheeler, the co-editor, my sister, we went on opening day, and as far as the improvements go, like, they're really minimal. So basically, like, there's a lot of like new signage. They widened the concourses by like a few feet. There's like a new kids playground in the reserve level on the entryway plaza, and they have like life-size like bobbleheads all over. Like, they put in like some new stores, some new food places. Basically the biggest improvements were the new video boards in left and right field, which replaced the old video boards, and the Diamond Vision is now gone. And they expanded the clubhouses in the Dodger clubhouse.
Now, I hear that the bobbleheads are life size, right?
Yeah, they are. They're like, they're like 5 feet.
So does anybody actually think that's the real Tommy Lasorda standing next to him until they realize it's a bobblehead?
It's too small. It's too small for that.
They're pretty close, though, right? I mean, the roundness has got to be there.
Not big enough. Not Tommy enough.
Also, are we thinking about Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters, type of deal?
Close. Not there yet, but close.
Some people say Tommy is a life-size bobblehead, so...
Well, see. We could do that, or we can go over to Chicago and try to find a Harry Carey one. Yeah. All right, so with opening day, how did the Dodgers look on field?
Well, you mean just on opening day or over the last week?
Well, actually, let's go over the last week, because we're about a week into the season right now, right?
Yeah, we're 4 games in right now.
We're 4 games in. The Dodgers are 2-2. This is their 5th game tonight.
So when you were reporting them on during spring training, all the acquisitions in the off season and everything like that, how did they look this first week to you in terms of gameplay, positioning on the field and everything?
Well, first of all, the pitching looks terrific. I mean, the pitching is great. I mean, obviously, it started off with a bang with Kershaw's shutout on opening day. The rotation looks pretty solid, even though there was some injuries, during the spring. The bullpen has been really impressive the first week. So the pitching staff looks great. I have no qualms about the pitching staff.
I was really impressed with Greinke's start yesterday. That looked really good. I think he went to 6.1 and gave up 2 hits or something like that.
Yeah, he retired 19 of the 21 batters he faced. He looked pretty strong.
Hitting his spots, his velocity was there. It was great. I think Mattingly pulled him right when he should have.
Yeah, they didn't want to overwork him, being the first start back and everything. He made about 92 pitches.
I think so, yeah.
He
right around that level.
Very well. I think he struck out 6. He didn't walk anyone, and he looked very impressive. So hopefully the sore elbow he had in spring isn't going to bother him at all.
And their schedule really helps too with not needing that 5th starter for a good, I think it's 2.5 weeks. He can actually start like he did yesterday, and then they can actually slot him back into the rotation in the number 2 spot when it comes back around. And they've got a day off after the Pirates as well, don't they?
Yeah, they have a day off on Monday. Technically, they didn't need a fifth starter until April 13th. But supposedly, Chad Billingsley is supposed to be making his debut on the 10th.
Okay.
On April 10th, which
That's
is
right.
Tuesday. So that's the series in San Diego. And then, he should slot back in, and then the rotation will be, Kershaw, Greinke, Ryu, Beckett, and Billingsley.
Right.
Okay.
Sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah. Now, one thing that was big in the offseason, we talked a little bit about that with Eric Steven from True Blue LA out in Arizona when we were at Camelback, was Yasiel Puig. There was a whole lot going on with this man, whether or not he was going to be on the roster, if he was going to be, if he was going to make the main roster, if he was just going to be sent down to minors. What's your take on Puig?
Well, my take on Puig is, obviously, no one had seen him play really. He was, came over from, Cuba, right? Cuban import, and he looked terrific in spring. Obviously, they have some issues with his plate discipline. He doesn't really draw a lot of walks.
Not a single walk in this spring.
Yeah, no walks, but otherwise, he looked pretty good. But the thing about Puig is, he's really raw and unknown, everyone was kind of just like, well, put him in the lineup, and it's kind of like, well, hold on, not so fast. We don't know how he's going to do yet against major league pitching.
He had to take a whole year off, right? Because as punishment from the Cuban government for trying to defect. It was like a failed defect attempt, so sat out a whole year before he even started playing. So
yes, I think the Dodgers' game plan is to, just start him off in Double-A Chattanooga and just see how he plays. But the thing is that there was a clause in his contract where if they keep him in Double-A for at least the first 20 days of the season, it pushes his free agency out about a year.
It changes his arbitration at the end too with that free agency.
So it pushes him out, so they get an extra year of free agency, or an extra year for him.
Yeah, it gives the Dodgers an extra year of arbitration eligibility for Puig, so that he's not strictly a free agent when his contract expires.
Right.
And that's got to be on the top of their list of keeping him with that huge deal they signed for him. So, 100% agree.
But the thing is with Puig, and people need to remember this because there's a lot of rumors, and everyone's going crazy about Puig, and it's understandable. He looked great in spring training. But the thing is they're paying Carl Crawford $100 million. They just signed Andre Ethier to an $85 million contract extension. And whether you
locked up.
And whether you like those guys or not, they're not going anywhere. They're not getting traded. They're not getting moved. They're not going to platoon them with Puig. So right now, Puig doesn't have any place to play. He's blocked.
Yeah, I think between Crawford, Kemp, and Ethier, the earliest any of those three are even a free agent or possibility of free agency is 2018. So they're going to be around for a while. And
now with contracts like that are so extended with all these back end deals that are happening with that, do you think it's going to hurt the Dodgers in the long run?
It depends on the deep pockets of their owners. I think we became accustomed to years for having Frank McCourt there and having to kind of bargain bin shop.
Right.
And so it's kind of new territory for the Dodgers to have the highest payroll in baseball. I think we're still getting used to. We're still exploring where that ceiling of spend is for the Dodgers payroll.
Well, you're talking about the payroll now. When they get established in terms of acquiring the right players and so forth, do you think that we're going to be a dynasty a la the Yankees?
I'll let Scott take care of that one.
Well, I certainly hope so. I certainly like a nice plump payroll. I'll tell you that,
Right.
So definitely a far cry from the McCourt regime. But hopefully, people always ask was it worth it? Because look at the Yankees now; they're having their problems. But look at how many championships they won. So is it worth it to have the high payroll and high priced stars? And it's like, yeah,
right.
Since '88, right? I think it's our turn.
Yeah,
I think it's time.
It's been a while. So.
Well, we're hoping that Puig will be able to do something over in the minors, and maybe all of what we invested into him actually may come to be.
There's a couple avenues, just real quick before we move on. There's a couple avenues for Puig to reach the majors, and this is what fans want to know. injury. If one of the 3 guys that are under heavy contracts gets hurt,
Right.
they might get a shot as a call-up.
Yeah, that's one.
That's right.
When the rosters expand for playoffs, come towards the end of the season, they
that's
might,
another.
because Puig's on the 40-man roster,
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then the long shot is only with a trade, and that would seem really, really
That's not
unlikely.
gonna happen.
It's not going to happen. They've got 3 guys that they want in their outfield long term.
So you really think that he might be one of those type of franchise players for the Dodgers in the long run, right?
in the long run, yeah. But
Okay.
it's an interesting situation because his contract actually expires right around the time that these other outfielders that they currently have, their contract expires right around the same time. So,
Well, we got
interesting.
a little bit more we're going to talk about in just a little bit. Nolan from Secret Squared Sports will be calling in, and we'll be discussing a few topics about LA sports with him. Of course, you can hear Todd, our very own Todd Baldazar, call into Chaotic Radio. What day do you call in for?
Every Tuesday night, right around 7 o'clock, and we cover all LA sports and even some of the Anaheim teams, Angels, and the Ducks as well.
All right. Well, let's move on to our next topic right now before we get Secret Squared to go on. Todd, go on and take this one.
We wanted to talk to you about Carl Crawford. He was there was a lot of question, a lot of speculation when the season started, whether he was even going to be healthy. There was rumors during spring that his arm was experiencing soreness when he was making throws from the outfield, but he's been on the opening day roster. He's got a really hot start right out of the gate. What do you see in Crawford that he's maybe fixed during the spring, and how healthy does he look after elbow surgery?
Well, one of the things that he fixed or changed was his batting stance. Apparently,
Okay.
he for some reason he went away from he always had a real open stance when he was playing with Tampa Bay, and then it seemed like when he came over to Boston, he kind of like closed his stance for some reason. I'm not sure why, and after he left Boston and then came over to the Dodgers, it seems like he's gone back to that more open stance that he had in his successful days with Tampa Bay. And
Do you think that's actually something that's really benefiting him for the CIF players out there, for all these little league players who are coming out? Did the stance change hurt or help his average, so to speak?
Well, I think it's helped him get off to a good start so far this year, and I think it helped him in Tampa Bay. It helped him throughout his career. He was always a good hitter with Tampa Bay, and so
Right.
I think when growing up in baseball, since I played baseball since I was very little, they tell you if you're going to have an open stance.
We're going to have a picture of Todd in uniform as we're saying this right now.
That would be pretty funny. I'll provide it, don't worry. I'll laugh at myself. An open stance is usually what a player uses if he's pulling off the ball when he swings. If he's pulling his head out, he's going to pull his body out and his upper half with him. So a lot of these players, they go to open stances with the idea that as the pitch is coming in, they move their front foot back in, and it helps them keep from pulling out off the plate. Now, the opposite is when a player is standing very close, it's because he's diving over the plate and he's missing the inside corner pitch. They'll often start with a closed stance and then pull their front leg out in order to open up the inside.
Yeah, I actually saw a few pieces written on it online.
Yeah.
A few of the other bloggers had written about it, and I kind of was like, so I saw a video of him, because, Crawford played in the American League. I hadn't really seen him play very much, and then, I saw videos of, when he was with, with Tampa Bay, and then, with his 2 years in Boston, and his, his batting stances, and I went, okay, they're right. He has changed it back, so I'm sure that's helped him. But, the Dodgers originally they didn't want to rush him back.
Right.
They wanted to take their time with him because of his elbow. But
Do you think they hurried him back onto the field, or do you think he's going to be okay for the whole season?
I don't think they hurried him. I think he's fine. There was some worry a little bit that he wasn't going to be ready for opening day, but he worked hard and prepared, and his arm strength isn't 100% yet. But I mean, that'll come with time, and the most important thing is that he hits, because obviously it's something the Dodgers sorely need, which is a leadoff bat,
And it's okay that, his arm strength, being in left field is kind of the outfield position that really is okay for arm strength. With a right fielder, he needs to be able to throw to third base to get the lead runner, and so that's why Ethier's out there. He's got a decent arm, and obviously Kemp has to have a strong arm in center. But as a left fielder, as Dodger fans have seen in the past, you don't have to have a huge arm. Juan Pierre used to patrol left field just fine, and he's got one of the worst arms in baseball. So to have Crawford out there with his sore arm, he's not going to have to make too many long throws.
Yeah, he's not going to have to really throw all that much, But they were working with them in spring. They were trying to get him to, hit the cutoff man, get up to, 90 feet and then 120 feet. I think he was up to 90 feet right around opening day. So, that's almost full strength. That's getting there. So, so I think he'll do fine. But I was very impressed by his hot start. Very impressed.
Okay. We're going to move on to our next topic. I think we wanted to discuss the pitching rotation and how it was going to shake out. And also, what do you think of our infield? So let's tackle those two. First of all, we kind of discussed the rotation a little bit earlier. Let's get into a little bit of a debate about who has a better rotation between the Dodgers and the Nationals. Because a lot of people want to know this one. The Nationals retooled their entire rotation. They got Strasburg leading the way now in the rotation. And, of course, the Dodgers brought in Ryu and Greinke. So, a bit of a battle there and a pretty hot debate right about now.
Well, I'd put the Dodgers starting rotation up against anyone, really. Kershaw and Greinke are going to be, one of the best 1-2 combos in all of baseball. Who else can, Kershaw and Greinke, they're pretty good. And then, the rest of the rotation, the guys aren't as good, but they're still pretty solid. Ryu looked pretty good in his first start. He gave up some hits, but he didn't walk anyone. His control looked pretty good. Beckett had a poor start, but I'm hopefully he'll be able to rebound. And then hopefully Billingsley is recovered from his finger injury and his elbow injury, and
he's pretty banged up. So it'll be interesting to see how Billingsley does when his start comes up. He said on the 10th, right?
Yeah, on the 10th.
It's going to be interesting. He's coming off of an elbow injury that he refused surgery for, and then he got a banged-up thumb during the spring, so he's a little beat up. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Now, we're having a lot of injuries that you guys are talking about so early on in the season that we're potentially, hopefully, that not going to happen, will happen. What's something that the Dodgers will do to kind of counteract that, especially when you were talking about the 40-man rotation earlier?
Well, I don't know what can be really done to counter. Sometimes the injuries just hit, and that just scares me the most, because it's like, are we going to have something like last June all over again when, half the roster pulls their hamstrings at the same time? You have 5 players with strained right hamstrings on the it was like Murphy's Law at that time, but...
That whole stretch kind of gave Sellers a chance to slide in there, and of course he made the opening day roster too. So with Billingsley as a question mark, it's kind of an intriguing situation because we have all these surplus starters. You got Harang, you got Capuano. None of them are happy being relievers. You got Ted Lilly out there who's coming off of an injury. So
I think we got a call coming in. Let's try to check it out. Hey, how's it going? You're on the line right now with SportSpeak Radio.
Hi, it's Helene Elliot.
Hi, Helene. How you doing?
Helene.
Hi.
We got Helene Elliot from the LA Times here with us right now.
Yeah, Helene, I'm glad you called in. Thanks for the call.
Sure, thank you.
We've been discussing the Dodgers, but we wanted to talk to you a little bit. We'll take a break from the Dodgers and discuss a little bit of hockey. We wanted to talk to you basically about the shortened season with the Ducks and also kind of the heated rivalry with the Kings, and they've kind of come on pretty strong lately. So to get right into it, the first thing we want to discuss is kind of the shortened NHL season. And for you, as a writer, does it kind of affect the way that you view the Stanley Cup? And whoever wins the Stanley Cup, is there just a little bit of maybe an emotional asterisk there that comes with a shortened season?
I don't think so. There's no asterisk or something, next to the name of the team that wins in the shortened season. It's happened in the league before. It's still the Stanley Cup. It's still the playoffs. They're still going to be the same length. May even be a little condensed because they want to finish this before July starts. So the playoff schedule will be even a little bit more grueling than usual. So I don't think anybody regards it as any lesser of a triumph if you win the Stanley Cup. lockout shortened season.
So, Helene, basically what you're saying, no matter what, it doesn't take away from the prestige of the Stanley Cup.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's the length of the playoffs and the format of the playoffs doesn't change, so it's still going to be an incredibly tough road, and maybe even tougher because the regular season is so condensed and everybody's so tired. It's going to be interesting to see who has the stamina and which teams have the depth to get through this.
Now, because of that shortened season, it presents a couple of unique situations. You touched on it very quickly about how they have to play back-to-back games, or they're playing essentially 48 games in 90 days. The second side effect to a shortened season is the standings and how close they are early going. This would be kind of more of an early going, almost a midpoint of a regular season, where a lot of these teams are still figuring out their playoff spots, but we've only got 10 or 11 games left, and there's several teams in the Western Conference standings within just a few points of each other.
Right.
We want to get your take on where do you think the Kings will end up as a seed, and also if the Ducks can hold on to that 2 spot.
Yeah, it's. I think everybody's kind of going through the doldrums right now, except for the San Jose Sharks, who have the longest winning streak. I think it's 7 now. Usually you get the March doldrums, February doldrums, and you can't afford to do that now because February was a busy month for so many teams. I think the Kings will end up in that 4-5 hole. I don't think they'll fall any further than that. I think they're too good to really fall any further than that, and I don't see anybody who's good enough to really pass them. I think the Ducks will probably hold on to 2. It's simply because they built up such a huge lead in the Pacific Division. I think the Sharks are within maybe 8 points or so, and the Kings are probably about 10 points. But I think the Ducks will probably be able to hold on to that.
Okay, and with the Ducks in the 2 spot, who do you think will be their opening round opponent?
It's so difficult to tell right now. I mean, number 2 will play number 7, but that seems to change every day.
Absolutely.
We've seen some really goofy changes in the East, too. I mean, the Southeast Division winner the first place in the Southeast will get the number 3 seed, and that's been jockeying back and forth between Washington and Winnipeg. So one of the other of them has been going from 3 to 10 or 10 to 3, depending on, what they've been doing. So in the West, it's a little bit more sane, but still you're getting these changes every day. I mean, look at Nashville and St. Louis and Edmonton and Columbus. They're packed so close together that somebody loses 2 games in a row and they can go from 6 to 9, and it's just going to be that way the rest of the way, I think.
So since the whole Western Conference is so close together, it's not like we're going to have last year where the Kings were or basically a Cinderella story coming from 8th seed and winning the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen, simply because it just looks... I think everything just is closer this year.
Right.
I don't think the Kings are getting the same kind of year out of Jonathan Quick as they did last year. Teams are more aware of the Kings and their capabilities this season, so I don't think the Kings will have that kind of dominant playoff run like they did. You look around the teams and just, you wonder, San Jose, again, is playing so well right now.
Right.
Can they sustain that going into the playoffs? And knowing their playoff history, I kind of doubt it, but you never know.
Such a streaky team. I think they lost 7. They won 7 and lost 7 to start the season, and I think they're on another 7-game winning streak. So
basically, when it comes down to it, when it comes to the playoffs, the West is what to watch, basically. In comparison,
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
It seems like when it comes to the playoffs this year, the West is the conference to watch to find out who's really going to be doing something. It seems like as if some team in the West is going to take the cup.
Yeah, I mean, I think the West is stronger, and I think it has been for a while. I mean, you look in the East, New Jersey made it to the finals last year. They may not even make the playoffs.
Right.
I mean, New Jersey and the 2 New York teams are clustered in there. Coming out of the East, you have to wonder how Sidney Crosby is going to be.
Right.
I'm curious to see Montreal, if they can sustain what they've done.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to find out exactly, which teams are going to pretty much go. We know there's going to be a major battle happening in the West coming to playoffs. Helene, I want to thank you for calling in to SportSpeak Radio. Of course, you can catch Helene articles every every day on the LA Times?
Yeah, Helene, give us a quick rundown of what you do and where we can find you.
Exactly.
I'm at latimes.com. My NHL column runs on Mondays, and I write do game stories and game columns, actually, and whatever else, just about any other time, and news stories. So just look at latimes.com sports.
All right. Thanks a lot, Helene, for calling in. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. All right. So let's get back into talking Dodgers. I want to thank Helene from the LA Times, latimes.com, for calling in. We're going to talk Juan Uribe right now. I think Liz has our next question going up.
Yes. What about Juan Uribe? Will he remain with the team after Hanley's return? What do you think?
Well, I hope not, but unfortunately, yeah, I don't see him going anywhere. Well, the thing is that the Dodgers, they have an MO where they don't like to release anyone from the 40-man roster. Any guy that has option year that can be optioned from Albuquerque back up and to 2 and 4, they'll send them down and back up because they won't lose them.
This has been happening throughout the whole Dodgers, tenure, or since they moved out to LA, or is that just something that's been happening recently with the new ownership?
It's been happening for the last 7 or 8 years. I mean, they rarely ever release anyone. I mean,
Right.
Obviously, you think back of, they have before, obviously, like Andrew Jones and Jason Schmidt and those guys.
Don't remind me.
Those terrible contracts. But
Bringing back some bad memories, Todd?
They were still paying Manny all the way up until last season. So
I think they finally paid him off. But as far as Uribe goes, I think they also think that they may need him because of injuries, and also he does have defensive value. I mean, he is a good third baseman, and he can play shortstop, and he can play second base. So, I mean, he absolutely cannot hit at all in any way whatsoever. But
I think if Luis Cruz can't pick up the bat, if he doesn't hit very well, you might see Uribe get a little bit of playing time. I think Hanley's going to play shortstop when he comes back. It's kind of in limbo right now because with Hanley's injury, you got Justin Sellers at short, and I don't think Sellers is a permanent solution. You could see the butterflies in his stomach on opening night. I think he had 2 errors in the game, or the second game of the season, that cost the Dodgers quite a bit. If Cruz plays third base and Sellers plays short, when Hanley returns, you might have a situation where Hanley moves back to third and Cruz plays short, but if one of them doesn't hit, I mean, essentially, then you're just playing defense, right? Because the rest of the lineup's going to be better.
Well, let's go that from just a casual person who just knows what baseball is but doesn't really follow too much. Wouldn't you think if you can't hit, why are you on the team in the first place?
Well,
Exactly.
he's under major league contract. That's he's in the last year of his contract, and
And you got 8 other guys in the lineup
and-
that can hit the ball. So
Yeah. Well, we're going to get back to that in a little bit. We got Nolan calling from Secret Squared right now. You're on the air with SportSpeak Radio. How's it going?
How's it going? This is Nolan Seeger from Chaotic Radio.
Hey, how's it going, guy?
Not too bad, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. You got me, HR Cole, along with our head writer, Todd Boldazar, here on the air.
how's it going, Nolan?
Yeah. How's it going, Todd?
Good to hear from you, buddy. On the other end this time.
Yeah, it's the roles are a little bit reversed right now.
Yeah, we've been hearing our own Todd on your show for plenty of months now, but now he gets a chance to ask you the questions.
Absolutely, man. Fire away.
Nolan, you caught us right in the middle of a discussion about Juan Uribe and basically where he stands on the roster right now. And neither of us, myself nor Scott from Lasorda's Lair, think that the Dodgers will get rid of Juan Uribe regardless of the situation with Hanley Ramirez or how that shakes out. But we want to get your opinion on Juan Uribe and give us a little bit of a fortune. Tell us the future a little bit about Juan Uribe and his status with the team.
Look into your chaotic radio, magic ball and tell us what's going on.
Well, I mean, we've seen the last couple of years, one year they just can't hit the ball. He had a good spring, or a decent spring, I guess you could say. That, like I said, there's no way anybody's going to take him on right now. Not as a contract signed. The Dodgers would have to eat a bunch of the money in any deal that makes to get rid of him. And I don't know if they'd be necessarily afraid to do that. If they could get maybe some kind of piece back. But I don't see anybody that'd be willing to take him on. And so I kind of feel like he's stuck right now on that roster. And really, you could kind of tell he's not in Donnie's face. Donnie's a good side right now. He's not going to get playing time ahead of anybody like Justin Sellers or Jerry Harrison or once Hanley comes back, he sure as hell isn't getting any time. So.
Well, Nolan, we also got Scott from Lasorda's Lair here. He was in on the discussion. Scott, you were just talking about Uribe right before Nolan called in.
Yeah. Basically, I was just saying that it's as far as him, he's still under contract, and I think that the Dodgers feel that they may need him. They'll, I'm sure they'll just keep him on the bench. He'll get occasional playing time. Maybe he'll get a start here and there. With if there's a matchup that that looks good, but. I think he'll stay with the team throughout the season, and then, after the year's over, his contract is up, and then, they'll go their separate ways. But as far as, like, Sellers, you could see the other night, obviously Sellers is inexperienced, and, like Uribe has experience defensively. He just can't hit. So, that's a problem. I think that the Dodgers are pretty sure that Hanley's going to be the shortstop. They're pretty set on that. So I think that when Hanley comes back, he'll play short, and then Cruz will, stay at third. So I think that's what they'll do.
Okay, Nolan, next question for you. An interesting topic has come up in recent days. A couple different reporters have touched on it, but the possibility of Robinson Cano heading out west from the Yankees. He's recently got a new agent. He switched from super agent Scott Boras, and he's actually part of Rock Sports now. Rock Sports Nation, I think, is Jay-Z's new.
Right. And we know that Jay-Z's currently in Cuba right now on his 5-year anniversary scouting players.
So, Nolan, what do you think about the possibility of Robinson Cano coming over to the Dodgers? Give us a breakdown of where his head might be at, and whether you see him staying with the Yankees, coming to the Dodgers, or elsewhere.
Well, this is something that we kind of saw during the World Baseball Classic. He and Hanley Ramirez are around each other the entire time in the dugout, right next to each other on the infield. So, I think it's definitely a possibility if Cano does get to test free agency. And we've seen the Dodgers aren't going to be afraid to spend the money on it. It's just going to be a question of how much can the Dodgers actually spend. Are they close to that? Because they're going to have to give Cano a lot of money.
And we touched on that a little bit earlier, too.
Yeah, it's basically, in my opinion, and you can debate me on this if you like, but I really think it's... Please do. I believe it's going to come down to... It's always about money, and especially with the message that he's sending, going out and hiring Jay-Z as his agent. Jay-Z is a hip-hop artist. He's all about... the Benjamins,
right now Jay-Z's becoming a very notable sports brand with acquisition of the Nets.
But it's a little bit interesting because Jay-Z is getting into sports, and as you know, he's also a diehard fan. He dons his Yankees hat everywhere he goes.
Right.
So the battle here essentially with Robinson Cano is, do I take the money or do I take my allegiance with the Yankees? And it's kind of interesting with Jay-Z because he is all about the money, but Jay-Z is also a diehard Yankees fan. So there's tug and pull on both sides there, and it seems like a very interesting situation, but you touched on it. The Dodgers have deep pockets. And basically, what do you think of Cano? Do you think he's a money guy, or do you think he's an allegiance guy?
I think he's a money guy, but I also think that the Yankees realize that if they're going to do anything in the next couple of years, they need to keep Cano. Because you look at their roster over the first week of the season, he's the only scary part of their lineup. He's the only person you look at and say, okay, we need to make sure he doesn't hurt us. We'll take our chances with the rest of them.
And the entire
It's going to be like that for the next couple of years. So unless they start spending money, which it's going to have to start with Cano.
Right. And the entire Yankees infield is aging as well. I think Teixeira is the youngest, and he's 34.
They're old.
A-Rod's
old
38.
guys.
A-Rod's 38. Jeter's 39.
Well, like you guys were talking about, you mentioned the deep pockets, and we know that our Dodgers out here in L.A. originally come from Brooklyn. Now, that being said, two original New York teams, one on one coast, one on the other now. And I propose this to you as well, Scott. With all this money now that's backed behind both teams, we did ask you earlier in terms of maybe the Dodgers becoming a dynasty like the Yankees. To you, Nolan, as well, what do you think is going to happen with the comparison between the Yankees over there in New York, Dodgers over here in L.A., the amount of money that's going to be invested in both teams? What do you think is going to happen in terms of playoffs, pennants, and so on and so forth?
Are we talking about long term, like if the Dodgers can have
long term, if
like
they can match
back
up
in the '90s, or
they can kind of match up in terms of all what Steinbrenner put into the Yankees. how will the Dodgers kind of fare in comparison? Because now they have almost as much money, if not, like Todd said earlier, being the richest team in the league right now.
But the Yankees, they started with, they had the homegrown players. They had the Bernie Williams. They had the Mariano Rivera and Andy Pettit, who, go figure, we hear them calling a game this last week and saying Pettit got the win, Rivera got the save. We thought we were talking about 1997 again. It's very comparable because you look at the Dodgers and you got Matt Kemp, homegrown product, playing Kershaw. You got Billingsley, Ethier, even though he was acquired in the trade, somewhat of a homegrown product. So, I mean, the comparisons there are very good. As far as getting that winning culture, I think they need to get there once.
Right.
And I think that's when we'll see kind of what the Dodgers are made of.
Scott, Scott, you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that they should be competitive for years to come, I think, at the very least. I mean, I think, hopefully, Kemp, Ethier, and Kershaw and Billingsley, those guys should be there for a long time. And, with the, like I said, they got a pretty good, pretty plump payroll. And I think that if they continue to put money into international scouting and development and improving the farm system, like looks like they're doing right now. I think that we could be looking at like I said, they'll at least be competitive.
Good. All right. Well, Nolan, we want to thank you for calling in right now. We appreciate you calling in on our first call in for the day or for the show. And we know we can hear Todd every week on Tuesday on your show as well. Could you plug it for everybody out there listening?
Chaotic Radio 6 to 8. You can listen online or on a smartphone on the Live 365 or Shoutcast apps. It's me and my brother in studio, just talking about everything in the world of sports. Appreciate doing all the work with you guys. I'm glad to be able to call in today, and best of luck to you guys.
No, we definitely appreciate it, and we know that we're going to hear Todd there in a couple of days, actually.
Yeah, it's coming on up. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys are free, Thursday night, actually, Chaotic Radio is hosting a stand-up comedy event. It's in Ontario, at the Improv in Ontario. You can go onto the Chaotic Radio Facebook page and get free tickets to go to that, starting at 10 o'clock in Ontario.
All right. Well, great. Maybe hopefully we'll be able to put a link on that on our webpage at sportspeakradio.wix.com/home. We'll have all that on our social media and everything. Thanks again, Nolan, for calling in.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. All right. So we pretty much covered almost everything Dodgers today, man.
I think
as
we
much
can
as
let
possible.
Scott go. I think we put him through the ringer pretty good
Yeah,
today.
we kept him here long enough.
I survived.
Yeah,
Okay.
we heard too much from Liz today, so we need to really
Too much.
we need
Stop
to
talking
I
so
know.
much.
we need to actually make sure we turn her mic down next time.
Sorry, guys.
No worries. This our first broadcast for us doing SportSpeak Radio here on the air. We're out and about talking to fans, talking to writers, talking to pros, talking to everybody, talking SoCal sports. You can follow us online on Twitter at SportSpeak LA for everything LA teams, and of course you can follow us down at SportSpeak OC. Scott, let everybody know how they can hit you up, man.
Lasordaslair.com. We're part of the Fansided network. Hit us up. We're cover every game. We bleed. We breathe and bleed Dodger blue every single day. I run the site with my sister Stacy Wheeler. We're both co-editors. So
Nice. It's a family affair.
Your
It
Twitter
is.
handle is just Lasorda's Lair, right?
Yeah, just Lasorda's Lair. That's our Twitter handle, and we're also on Facebook as well. Same name. /Lasorda's Lair.
Right.
All right.
All right, everybody, for Liz, for head writer Todd, and Scott for joining us in studio. This is HR Cole for SportSpeak Radio. We will catch you guys next time.